You're going to be back in the program. If there was ever a person that could follow that song, that testimony, what Chris said, how many realize the Holy Spirit is smarter than all of us put together? He knows how to orchestrate a TV program. The person that we're introducing right now, her name is Abby Rike. She has a book, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But out of that song, if there was ever a person that could say amen to that, it is Abby, and she has an amazing story. And without getting into a bunch of detail right here, let me just say, Abby, would you just start telling your story, please?
Can I just say one thing? You might recognize her from The Biggest Loser. She was on in 2009, so a lot of people are going, probably, who is that? I've seen her before. So that's who we're talking about. This is Miss Abby, and we're so thankful you're here.
Why don't you start telling your story?
Well, the journey to The Biggest Loser really started in October of 2006. On Friday the 13th, 2006, my husband, my 5.5-year-old daughter, and my 2.5-week-old son were killed in a car accident.
Were you in that vehicle?
No, I was not. I was about 10 minutes away from being in the vehicle, and I was having chest pains, and we determined that I should go to the doctor, and it was a Friday afternoon, so it was an emergency room, so there was a long line and all. And so we decided that Rick would take the baby and Macy, and they were going to go to open gym. And so literally it was a last-minute decision that I wasn't in the van, and I was having these chest pains, and so I'd gone to the emergency room, and I waited about an hour. And then, of course, the mama bear in me, I had to call and check, see how everyone was, and I didn't get an answer. And I called again, and I didn't get an answer. And immediately I knew something was wrong, but I never dreamt it was what it ended up being. I left the emergency room never having seen a doctor, traveled down the road where I knew they were headed, and then I saw the lights. Luckily, I did not see the wreck. God spared me that horror, and it was around a bend, but I did see the lights. And so literally, I was standing on the side of the road when they told me that there were no survivors.
Okay.
And the thing about it is that I never had another chest pain after, and never saw a doctor, nothing. I won't say that my heart didn't hurt after, but I never had a chest pain after. And so I can honestly say that the peace that I felt that night defied any kind of sense. Because nobody loved their family more than I loved mine.
Right.
We worked together. We played together. We were tight. I mean, we were one of those weird couples. We liked each other.
Wow.
I mean...
Wow.
We're weird, too.
Yeah. And so...
Weirdo.
And so there was only one currency that the devil could have ever gotten me. You could have taken my health. You could have taken every penny we had from our teacher's salary.
Yeah.
And I would have been fine. But if the devil was ever going to get me, that was where he could have gotten me. Sure. Because that's all I cared about. And I can say, as I said, that there was a peace that night that defied any kind of human thought. And it certainly didn't have anything to do with me, because if I were sitting in the audience or I was out in the world and I heard this woman say she had buried her husband and her 2 children, I would have promised you that I would have never gotten up from that.
Yeah.
And meant it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not this super anything other than God loves me, and he is all that he says that he is.
Wow. Wow.
Now, can I ask a question? Were you born again at the time, and you loved the Lord? So
I did. I accepted Jesus Christ into my heart at 6 years old.
Okay.
But I think it's one of those things that you think you have faith,
right?
And you know you have faith, but it's not until you have nothing,
yeah,
that God really can be everything.
Wow. Right.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Take us, not that I want you to dwell there, because I want you to, basically God has taken you from
A miracle
like
that you're
the story
here,
of
that
Job,
you're walking,
out
of the house.
that the idea that you can even, be here, much less, move into the area of motivational speaking and stuff. You basically thought you were having a heart attack, drove down the road, were informed that your husband and your 2 children did not survive a fatal accident. Then what happened?
Then it was because our students were so important to us. Rick and I were high school teachers. We did speech and debate and were the parents of this UIL program for these kids. And so I was still on maternity leave because Caleb was only 2.5 weeks old. And so I went back after Christmas, and because I needed those kids to not be mad at God.
Right.
Wow.
I needed those kids to know that I wasn't mad at God.
Wow.
And that He loved us. He still loved us. And this is excruciating and it's hard, but we're going to get through it together.
Wow.
So I went back in the classroom, directed a play, coached the speaking events. But I'm going to tell you, the grace of those kids, that was a blessing beyond blessing. Because you want to talk about sitting in the ashes with you?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
They did.
How did you start breathing again and healing and you're out telling your story, you've written a book, and how in the world do you go from that to here? I mean, it's got to be 1,000 steps, I get it, but walk us through a little bit of that journey.
I guess in the back of my mind, everyone always talks about in the grieving process that when you hit that 1-year mark, don't do anything for a year until you've had a year. And so in my mind, I really thought I was going to get this gold star at the end of that year.
Yeah.
And I was going to magically feel better. And then I found myself surviving that first year, and I thought, this is still not very good.
Yeah.
And so then I tried several different things to not fall apart, so to speak. And a lot of the times I was trying to do it in my own strength, and I was just failing miserably. I ended up getting my master's degree in a year, and I just focused on that.
Yeah.
And then after I did that, then I thought, I'll run away from home to South Louisiana from Texas, back where I have lots of friends, and it's a little bit bigger, and just have a new change of scenery. And I felt compelled that that was what I was supposed to do. And in doing so, moving to Houma, Louisiana, I did join a gym. Obviously, I didn't frequent it, but I did attend once and ran into Brady and Vicki Vilken, who had been on season 6 of The Biggest Loser. They just so happened to live in this same town. I subscribed to her blog, and then I can tell you the exact day I would call my rock bottom was February the 13th, 2009. And it was 2.5 years to the day since the wreck, the day before Valentine's Day. And I thought, if this is my life, deliver me.
Wow.
Because every day I would get up and think,
It's okay.
if I can just make it through this one day.
Wow.
And then I would get up and think, one more day. And so, on this Friday the 13th, 2009, I say that the Lord and I had a really long talk, and not a churchy kind.
Yeah.
And I finally said, I give. I can't do this. And if this can't be why I wasn't in the van. And just so God's perfect timing, on February the 12th, I got this crazy information that this Biggest Loser reality television show is having open auditions. And it just planted this seed, and I thought I was so desperate to feel better. I'd been overweight my whole life, but this was the first time that my weight was really just weighing me down. And I thought maybe if I could physically feel better, then...
It could help something.
Yes. And so I prayed about it and thought, I'm trying out for The Biggest Loser.
Wow. Okay, I haven't
Crazy.
Okay, first of all, I just met you, okay?
Okay.
I mean, not even in the green room. I was out here, and so I haven't seen any before pictures. Were you really big or just kind of big?
I would go more towards the really big at 100 pounds additional weight.
Is that the biggest you were right there, the before picture, or is that like a photoshopped before kind of version?
No, that was my official before picture. I'm really glad you didn't get the one where you're in the bra and the spandex.
And everything's kind of hanging over.
Cute.
Yeah,
it's good looking.
lovely.
It's a good look.
Yeah. So, but basically the idea that when did you, I mean, was that process of shedding the weight, were you shedding away some other things too? Were you healing on the inside at the same time you were kind of shrinking and doing all that?
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things that your mind, body, and spirit go so hand in hand. And when one is out of whack, it throws it all out of whack.
Yeah.
And so for me, feeding my body nutritious, real food instead of the processed stuff that I'd been eating, it was basically poison.
Yeah.
I was so lethargic. I was so tired. And so to actually be physically moving again, it clears the mind, you nourish the body. And God created so many scenarios. To think he can use a reality TV show.
That's unbelievable.
Boggles the mind.
Unbelievable.
Boggles the mind.
Did you, did you ever get a shortcut in this process? And I'll tell you what I mean by a shortcut. Did the Lord ever appear to you and say, I'm still with you and I'm going to walk you through? Did you just gut it out day to day from the smile that I see on your face right now, from what would have been the most horrific thing that any parent, any spouse, I mean, it was just like, that's the worst, kind of about the worst story I've ever heard. So did you get any shortcuts, or was this just a day-to-day, gut it out, hold on, tie a knot at the end of the rope and keep holding?
I think that it was one of those things where I guess I'm very hard-headed and I have this innate sense that I want to be strong. And the idea of crying in front of people or being weak in front of people, not a fan.
Not a fan of that.
Not a fan of it. And so on the show, you are stripped of every defense. You're just stripped of everything. And once again, God was saying, you're not going to do it in your own strength, Abby. Over and over and over until then but it's something I have to lay down every day. I have to lay it down every day. I suffered a stress fracture the second week I was on the ranch. I was on crutches. So I was in the pool losing weight. It forced me to depend on other people and let them back in my life.
Wow.
Because I'd become I'm going to handle this. And it forced me to open up and allow people to be helpful to me.
Wow.
And it's hard to take help when you like to be the helper. But sometimes it's a season that you need help, and it's okay. It's okay to ask for that help and take it so that you can become where you can give again.
Kate, to someone, I've never broken a bone. I've never been in an emergency room kind of environment. And, for myself, or even, Kaylin had some stitches one time. But the idea that you have really been in a pit, as far as I'm concerned, and now you're out of that pit and you're alive. And what is your message to those people? Your camera's just right over there. What is your message to people that will relate to you that have had horrific things in their life?
First and foremost, I think that hurt is hurt, and it comes in a lot of different packages. And so I think the first thing that you can know is that when you're in the midst of your suffering and you think, I can't take another moment of this, I am always going to feel this bad, I can promise you that you won't.
Wow.
Because God promises us that joy comes in the morning.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful.
So first and foremost, have hope and cling to that hope that you will not always feel this way. And that you truly can know a joy that passes all human understanding. Because I will see my family again one day.
Come on now.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And I live in that comfort, and you can live in that comfort too. That God can be everything you need him to be when you allow him to be.
Wow. You know, I'm thinking of little Gabrielle. You know, it was one of the most amazing pieces of just kind of prophetic knowledge that a friend of ours gave when they suffered the Harry and Cheryl Salem. Their daughter passed away through cancer, and the Lord seemed to give her this, and it's obviously for you too, that your family, you know, and in their case, their daughter, is closer to them, and your family is closer to you in your future than they are in your past.
Absolutely.
And you know,
that's beautiful.
When I heard that, you know, that was from a mother who was grieving over her little girl who had died. And
I remember Cheryl telling the story. She said about a year to the day after it happened, she said, I was rocking in my chair and your memories were going. You know how you do that. You see your babies and you just think, oh, if I can just, I'll be able to hold this in my mind forever. If I could just freeze dry this.
Kids at this age, you know, and keep them.
And she said I was grieving, and she said I was crying out to God and rocking in the chair going, God, please don't let me lose my memories, because she was losing those little things. You know what it's like? And God said, Cheryl, he said, that baby's closer to you in your future than she is in your past.
Wow.
And what do people do without that hope? Without that sense of knowing that one day we'll all be together again? I don't, you know, and this is but a moment in time where God is asking you, who do you say I am today?
Wow. That's
Am
awesome.
I still your peace? Am I still your joy? Am I still your provision? Am I still your rock? Everything that he wants, everything that he is, he wants to be that in our life. You know, so your circumstances don't ever determine his presence in your life, because he's always there with you. And the fact that you're walking and that you're talking and what you're doing today is an absolute miracle with what you, because to us, that would be the worst thing that could ever happen to us, is what's happened to you. And that you have walked it out one probably baby step at a time.
Beautiful.
I just thank you for that. I thank you for showing us how to do it and for living strong, because God could trust you with the tragedy, because he knew that you'd take a platform someday and minister to these people around this world. And I appreciate that, and I love you for that with all my heart.
We want you to get Abby's book, Abby Rike, Working It Out. A journey of love, loss, and hope.
It's a
and if you want her to come to your church, if you want her to minister to your platform, to your people, there is her information on the screen, abbyrike.com.
Congratulations, you look great.
Yeah,
you look just great.
You obviously, how many pounds did you lose? I mean, what?
100 on the dot.
100 pounds.
That's
wow.
Awesome.
You lost a Lori, and so...
I usually say an Olsen twin, but now I'm going to say a Lori.
You lost a Lori, exactly. And for information on Abby and her amazing story, just go to her website and get in touch with her and get her book. You probably go tonight to like Amazon and click on Amazon.com and get her book and read it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for ministering.